I'm going to quickly go over the webinar technology so we can have an interactive presentation. You should see your control panel on the screen right now. If you don't, it may be because it's minimized. You can pull it back out by using the Grab tab, which hides and shows the control panel. There's also an attendee list where you can see all of the participants on the call. If you have a question at any point, you can participate through the question pane. Type your question into the question pane, and I can read it to the group or respond privately. You can also raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon on the control panel, and I can unmute you so you can ask your question that way. So just to test out the hand control, can everyone please raise your hand if you can hear me? Okay, great. It looks like it's working. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm going to lower your hands now. So all of the panes in the control panel can be expanded or minimized by using the plus or minus sign at the top left of each pane. And just to let everyone know, sometimes folks have had audio trouble. If for some reason you're having difficulty being heard when you're speaking, you want to make sure that you're not muted on your phone or your computer and that you've entered the audio pin provided to you at the beginning of the call. If that doesn't work, you can hang up and call back in and enter the audio pin. Right, and we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. This is Carol Lincoln at Achieving the Dream. I really want to thank everybody for coming on board today. We've got a number of new colleges that were just recently certified as leader colleges, and so I suspect that our attendance today is going to include many of those new folks, and so congratulations to them. There are 16 new leader colleges, and there were 16 leader colleges that were recertified, so this is really wonderful news for all of you. Today's webinar is going to be about the Working Family Success Network and community colleges. We want to share with you some of what's going on in that exciting initiative. Excuse me. And just for the new folks that have not been on one of these webinars before, I should mention that each time we have one of these, we try to keep them to 45 minutes. We also try to feature some important work that one or more of the colleges in the network is working on, and that's why today we've asked a colleague from Highline to come on board and talk about the Working Family Success Network initiative. But we'll be doing this every month, or every other month, I think we may be doing now. And you'll be invited well ahead of time to come on board, and you'll know what the agenda is. And hopefully you will be able to fit this into your lunch hour or whatever time frame you might be in. On the call today with me are several other colleagues from Achieving the Dream. Cindy Linhart may be the newest name for all of you. She just recently came on board as the Vice President for Community College Relations. She's going to be working with our program and policy people, and you're going to be seeing her a lot because she's going to have close connections to all the colleges in the network. Carrie Henderson is here. She's the Associate Director of Programs, and all of you who are leader colleges remember seeing emails from Carrie. Melanie Mulvey is the voice you've heard already. She's the Assistant Director of Programs, and of course, then there's me. The agenda, the structure for each of these webinars is pretty much the same each time. We try to carve out just a few minutes at the beginning for Achieving the Dream business. We try to give a shout out to one or more colleges that's leading by example, doing something that we think is really important to spread the knowledge that leader colleges have about how to improve completion rates for students. We then save time for a presentation by one or more colleges. We try to make sure there's time for questions and answers, and then we always tell you when the next webinar is scheduled for. So today, starting out with the Achieving the Dream business, I want to give a quick reminder to all of you that you've recently received probably a notice saying that the competition for the Leah Meyer Austin Award is now open. There is a October 24th deadline. We really encourage leader colleges to apply for this because you're the ones that have got the most evidence of success, and we try to feature a college each year that has made significant improvements in student outcomes. So please give that a serious consideration. Secondly, if you haven't already heard about it, we wanted to call to your attention a series of technology solutions webinars that we've been doing. We recently had one that had tremendous attendance. I think we had 170 folks listened in on the call that we had about a week ago. In each of these webinars, what we'll be doing is featuring the work that one of our colleges has been doing in collaboration with an IT firm. The one that's coming up, the next seminar that's coming up on October 9th at 12:30 Eastern Time, is going to be featuring the work that Montgomery County Community College has been doing with Ad Astra information systems. They have a variety of software and programs for colleges to use, but the one that is pretty exciting that we want to tell you about is the technology they're using to help with scheduling and trying to get more efficient processes in place for making sure students have schedules that work for them. Registration for that webinar is open, so we hope you will want to be part of that and be able to fit that into your calendar. The next thing I wanted to mention to you was a new grant, a new activity that we're really excited about. The Gates Foundation recently announced grants to several major IT companies and firms that are working on innovative strategies to improve teaching and learning at colleges. We were fortunate enough to be partnering with Smart Sparrow, and their proposal to the Gates Foundation was one that was funded. The Smart Sparrow is collaborating with various universities and colleges across the country, and actually they work across the world. They have education technology companies, scientists, and education experts in their network. And they are actually from Australia, which is kind of fun for us. Their goal is to build 2 introductory smart science courses that utilize non-traditional, transdisciplinary approaches to helping low-income students succeed. The curriculum and the courseware that they're going to be developing is going to be all open source, and a number of ACV colleges will be invited to be participants in that work, and you'll be hearing more about that from us pretty soon. For the shout-outs today, I really want to emphasize how proud we are that it's possible to announce 16 additional new leader colleges. You see on the screen that they've all been listed. This is really a remarkable accomplishment for all of these colleges, and we're really pleased that they were committed enough to the work and wanting to go through the application process to become indeed a leader college. This is not just an honor, it's an accomplishment, and it's also an obligation to continue sharing what you've learned how to do with other colleges in our network and across the country. So congratulations to all of you, and to also all the ones that were recertified this year. Their names are on the screen now. Because of the infusion of new leader colleges, we're now up to 79 leader colleges out of our network, and that's a remarkable achievement for all of you. So on to the presentation for today. We have 2 folks that are going to share with you some of the information that they have about the Working Family Success Network. And one of them is our own Elyssa Shildneck, who's the Assistant Director of Programs at Achieving the Dream. She spends her time working on the Working Family Success Network in Community College Initiative. That's a mouthful. We'll probably just call it the Working Family Success Network today, or WFSN is sometimes what we call it. But Elyssa is doing the day-to-day work here in concert with Julian Haynes, who is our project director on this initiative. She is being joined today by Jeff Wagnitz, who's Vice President of Academic Affairs at Highline College. Highline is one of 16 colleges that were selected in 4 different states to be part of this new expansion of the WFSN strategy in community colleges. So with that, I'm going to let Elyssa tell you more about what this project is all about, And then Jeff will tell you what it means in terms of college participation and opportunity to really improve student outcomes.
Thank you, Carol. So as Carol said, I'm just going to provide a bit of context behind what this initiative is, what the goals of the initiative are, who's involved, and then some more detailed information about what this integrated service delivery strategy is and what it can look like in community colleges. 16 community colleges in 4 states are working to implement an integrated service delivery strategy that really aims at promoting post-secondary completion for students, and particularly low-income students whose economic challenges can thwart their career goals and their academic goals. So there are 3 goals for this initiative, the first being to expand and scale the use of this strategy in 16 community colleges in 4 states. We're also aiming to strengthen the evidence base behind implementing the strategy in community colleges. You'll learn a little bit later that it has been piloted in a number of colleges to date. We really want to highlight the way that it can improve persistence, completion, and job attainment rates. And then the final goal is to demonstrate that this strategy can be cost-effective in community colleges and can also bring about cultural change in the way that community colleges support low-income students and also in the day-to-day institutional operations at these institutions. So you're probably wondering who's involved. As you can see on this slide, there are 4 states, Washington, California, Arkansas, and Virginia. And these 4 states are working as a consortium, so that consortium consists of a state partner organization and then 4 institutions. So in Arkansas, we are working with the Arkansas Association of Two-Year Colleges. You will see with the asterisks, those denote ATD institutions, current and former. So Phillips Community College, North Arkansas College, East Arkansas Community College, and College of Ouachita. So I won't spend the time reading through all the institutions, but you can see there is great representation from Achieving the Dream institutions. And then next, the foundations funding this work. So the Lumina Foundation, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, MetLife Foundation, the Annie E. Casey Foundation, and then Bank of America Charitable Foundation. So just some brief history about the WFSN strategy and where it came from. So it was pioneered by the Annie E. Casey Foundation through its investments in the Center for Working Families. The goal was to improve the financial outcomes for families. And so this work was piloted by MDC in about 15 community colleges, the first college being Central New Mexico Community College, which to date is considered an exemplar in this work. But the strategy is also being used by a number of community-based organizations across the country. So it's being used by United Way and LISC, which is Local Initiative Support Corporation, and so about 100 sites have used this to date. So as I said, the WFSN strategy was developed to help low-income people reach financial stability and move up the economic ladder. And that is done by intentionally integrating and bundling services in 3 distinct but related areas. So that would be education and employment services, so education, job readiness, training, and placement, income and work support, so that would be access to student financial aid, public benefits, and tax credits. And then finally, financial services and asset building products. That would be financial education and financial coaching linked to affordable products. And so within those 3 pillars, there are both low and high touch services. So when I say low touch services, I mean a standardized set of services that are designed to reach a broad range of students, typically in a group setting. So if we're talking about income and work supports, an example might be information on public benefits in orientation or perhaps in a student success course. And so when I talk about high-touch services, I'm talking about one-on-one interaction with a student and perhaps a staff member with regular follow-up. So an example of that would be one-on-one financial coaching. And so on this slide, you can see that for particular pillars, we have required services that each of the 16 colleges will be implementing and scaling over the next 3 years. And then finally, I just wanted to talk to you about what this work can look like in different community colleges, so because it does look different. So one way that colleges have chosen to approach this integrated service delivery has been through a physical place. So this could be, a physical place like a one-stop center, meaning that it's a home for delivery and receipt of integrated services. Another way that colleges have approached this is through specific people. So there's one or more staff people that are that students can identify with these services who help either refer them to different departments on campus or to different community partners that the institution is working with. And then finally, it's also used as a retention and completion strategy. And this is how CNM has approached their work. And so they've embedded this strategy into the overall retention and completion work that aims to remove any barriers that students have towards completion. So now I'm going to give the floor over to Jess Wagnitz at Highline College to talk more about the work that they are doing.
Thanks, Elyssa. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about Highline's experience with WFSN. I'll use that abbreviation. That's the one we have adopted here, and how it fits for our college. I think in order to set the context for that, I'll just say a little bit about our institution. In ways, we're pretty unremarkable. We're kind of a mid-sized, suburban, comprehensive community college. We're about 3 miles south of the south runway at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. So if you've ever flown in and out of SeaTac, you've been literally right on top of our location. And our most distinctive feature really is our diversity. We are about 70% students of color, 35% of our students are non-credit ESL learners, and within that diversity is even deeper diversity. Our immigrants include newcomers, they include first and second and 1.5 generation immigrants. We have a growing African American community and local Latino community. So it's a very rich environment in which to work. And on our best days, we've had some success in responding to that. So we feel like we're making progress and have been recognized a bit for our work there, but recognize we have a lot of work left to do. The next slide takes a look at our region in terms of its economic realities. Our diversity, quite frankly, is not a product of our clever recruiting or our attractive programming. It's a reflection of our community's underlying economic structures. As the Seattle area has matured over time, our neighborhood, which once upon a time was a bedroom community suburb, has been left sort of out of the economic development of the region, quite frankly. We are rich in entry-level jobs and hospitality and logistics and the airline industry, so we've kind of become a popular entry point for people working in those industries. And meantime, the larger metropolitan opportunity has moved north and into the city where things have been a little more active. The result has been some significant disinvestment in our area, and you can see that in the map there, which is a Kirwan Institute opportunity map of Highline. Our district boundary pretty much overlaps with the lowest opportunity areas in our region. One of the reasons why WFSN was attractive to us. The next slide is just literally pointing out that we are kind of a textbook example of some of the things that happen in aging suburbs. Tukwila, which is one of the cities that we serve, was featured in the Brookings Institution study that resulted in the book Confronting Suburban Poverty in America. And I would say we have pretty much all of the list of challenges that occur with aging suburbs. We're spread out. It's hard for people to get across the region. Access to health care, food security, public services, all of those things are disaggregated. And our district in many ways is the glue that holds a lot of those neighborhoods together. On the other hand, It's an amazing area in terms of vibrancy, cultural capital, resilience, and heart. And so we feel like our responsibility as an institution is to help our community realize its dreams and try to do that through education and try to do that in a way that's sensitive both to the assets of the community and is clear-eyed about its challenges. So for us, literally joining Achieving the Dream years ago was in a way kind of like adopting a mission statement. The mission statement kind of gives people a conceptual framework for their work. It gives them some encouragement. It gives them language to talk about things that they really already know that they need to be doing. And we look at working families in much the same way. It's been an interest of ours for a long time to increase our effectiveness in working with our students as whole students and recognizing their financial and family challenges as part of what makes them either successful or unsuccessful in our institution. So as we enter WFSN, it's really been an opportunity for us to again have a framework, a conceptual or mission-driven field in which to discuss things that we know we need to be thinking about more deeply. And part of that, maybe a first step, I think the little graphic you saw with the mountain earlier kind of intimates that it begins with some inventory. Like most two-year institutions, you know, when we do an inventory, we see a lot of things that we have that support whole families and support students as whole individuals. We also see a number of things that we don't have. Certainly it's a mix of things that are high intensity, things that are low intensity, things that have quite literally developed over time with some lack of intentionality. We've seized opportunities, we've taken advantage of resources, but we haven't necessarily been intentional about how those things fit together. So for us, it's also an opportunity within our own campus to take a look at the things that we have here and face the challenge that even our own resources are spread out. I'm sure it's not unique to Highline that if you have a student who's, say, transitioning out of an ESL class, you may send them to all kinds of different places in order to get the resources they need to succeed. It's not necessarily the most efficient use of their time and, you know, quite frankly, creates a barrier that is about, in a very concrete way, making their path more difficult. So we are also taking a look at that as well. So in the next slide, I would say that in our current place with Achieving the Dream at Highline, our current transformation is really looking more deeply, thinking more intentionally about the long journey that our students make from the first day that they contact the college to the day that they walk out the door with a credential, and starting to see that journey as something that all of us play a role in and something that all of us have an opportunity to affect as they move through our system. And Working Families gives us a really key opportunity to fill in non-academic supports in order to fill in gaps in the things that make students successful or unsuccessful, their personal finances, their health, their housing. These things we know affect them. And yet traditionally colleges have, at least our college, has tended to see those outside influences as somebody else's responsibility and not necessarily directly ours. So we're really trying to re-envision that with WFSN. Our vision, you know, if we get where we want to go, is to address both of the gaps, the first gap being the pieces that we don't have. The last slide here I have erased the information around the pillars that make up the WFSN framework. And the mix of colors represents the things that the college may be able to provide and the things that maybe we would look at community partners to provide, but with the idea of filling in the things that we don't have. The second part of it is trying to make them more centralized. Elyssa mentioned the notion of having kind of a central space, and we do see that as important. And we literally watch students wander from time to time, and we know that that's neither good for them nor good for them feeling like they're moving toward their goals. And so if this is successful, we would have a single central place on campus, a one-stop where there's a very vibrant mix of college services and services provided by the community. So I think that whether your college is a WFSN college or not, or whether you're thinking about these things or not, I think some of the lessons that we've learned early on are There's really great value in taking inventory, seeing what you have for your students and what you don't have, beginning to identify gaps, reaching out in a more intentional way with community partners in order to fill in those gaps, and again, helping transform the way that we look at students and their families as more of a holistic vision that includes their health, their money, their transportation, their housing, the way they get here, and their financial viability as a family in the context of employability. Our educational mission is to help them become more employable, to increase their income, but all these other pieces have to be a part of that. So we look forward to the journey.
Excellent. Thank you, Jess. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carrie Henderson. I'm the Associate Director of Programs, and it is my pleasure to facilitate the question and answer portion of this webinar. And so please feel free to use the question pane on the right side of your screen to ask any questions you have either for Elyssa or Jess. And the first question we have, I think, is for both Elyssa and Jess, and it relates to sort of the scalability and the ability for colleges who aren't necessarily in suburban regions to use this type of model. And so the question we had is, would this model work in urban, rural, and suburban environments?
Okay, hi, this is Elyssa. I think I can take the first practice question, and Jeff, if you have anything you want to add after I'm done, that'd be great. So the great thing is that this strategy has been used in a variety of different institutions and institution sizes. So the example I'll give you is Highline Community College is perhaps on the line of urban and suburban, just outside of San Francisco. They have the Skyline Spark Point Center, which is their one-stop center where they're using this strategy. And then the rural example I can give you is Phillips Community College was one of the institutions to also pilot this work, and they're obviously rural. So even in this initiative, with our 16 colleges, we see a variety of different sizes as well. So institutions that are more than 10,000 students and institutions that maybe have, around 2,000 students. So that is great for us in building this evidence base to see how this strategy works and scales in different institution sizes and also geographic regions.
Yeah, what I would add to that is of the 4 colleges in Washington, I know them pretty well. I've been in the Washington system for a long time, and I would echo or second what Elyssa just said, that they're definitely a mix, very rural, very small, very urban in terms of, and also high growth area as opposed to maybe diminishing growth areas. So we're a mix, and we tend to learn from each other as a part of that. I think that, while I focused on Highline's context, because I think context is really important, I do think that ultimately that the framework and the way of looking at students and the things around them is pretty universal. Community colleges generally serve low-income populations, particularly in workforce development programs, families who've come to us because they want to increase their family income. And so just being realistic about that leads you back to that same place where you say, well, what do we have that really supports those other things? What could community partners provide to help us where we're not providing those services? And while that may look different in the particulars, depending on whether you're rural, urban, or suburban, I think that the methodology is pretty universal. So I think it is adaptable, and Washington will certainly give me a chance to see that play out very near to me.
Jeff, I think, thank you for that response, and that leads us into the next question. We've received 2 about community partnerships and entrepreneurship support. And so one of the questions we have is, how are you identifying entrepreneurs or participants, and how do you go about building those relationships?
Well, in our particular region, entrepreneurship is a very vibrant part of the economy. There are a lot of small businesses, a lot of micro enterprises, and so this is an area where for Highline it's a resource that was already in place. We have a pretty active small business development center that's funded by us, the SBA, as they all are, and there's certainly rules about which size businesses and what type of businesses that they can support. So we make we take every advantage of that service, and have discovered over the years that what we've needed to add is a very specific entrepreneurship element. And so the college funds that with the support of some of our local cities and other economic development entities as an add-on, so that we're able to work directly with micro-enterprises. We do outreach through our ESL classes is one of the places we do outreach for entrepreneurs. We also work obviously with our local economic development councils and cities, and other entities that are active in the business community to get the word out. And we do some door-to-door. We have some staff who go out and literally walk the areas where small businesses are being started. It's a really important part, I think, of developing economic self-sufficiency for a lot of areas, and we're no exception.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Just a reminder, if you have a question for Jeff or Elyssa, to please use the question pane, and we'll be sure to get to it. The next question we have is from a college who isn't part of WFSN strategy at this moment, and they're interested in learning more about the program and how they might be able to benefit from this work. And so I think both Jeff and Elyssa, if you would like to talk a little bit about how other colleges might be able to benefit from the work, that would be great.
Sure. I will take the first stab at that. So this has been a question that's come up previously as the RFP for this initiative was released to 4 other states that ultimately were not selected, but really do have a strong interest in doing this work regardless of the fact that funding is not necessarily tied to it. So creating a larger learning network for this is an important goal for achieving the dream. Exactly what that looks like right now is not fully fleshed out because, as we've mentioned, the 16 colleges are in their planning phase right now. So ATD will continue to share information on lessons learned. I can say that if you are in one of the 4 states participating in WFSN, we do know already that, at least for an example, the Arkansas Consortium of Colleges is committed to presenting this work at their state's annual convening, and I'm sure other consortia are doing the same. So I guess the other suggestion I have would be to always feel free to reach out to our office if you are looking for more resources or information. There are a few reports on this work. It's, as I said, it's been piloted on a small scale, so we do have some research that we can share out. So yeah, Jeff, do you have anything to add to that?
Only that, we're certainly, as individual institutions, I can't speak directly for my colleagues, but I think we come into this with the understanding that we are piloting and working through some experiments, I guess, and that part of our responsibility is to report that out to people. So I'm certainly happy to take questions directly or to contact people on our staff who could respond, and I suspect the others are the same way. So as colleagues and college-to-college kind of partners, I think we would be very open to helping people more directly that way as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. Our next question dovetails on the last question. And the question is related to the use of data to inform student success. So the question is, what data do you have regarding the return on investment from WFSN with respect to retention and completion? And so I would even take that question maybe a step up and say, looking at these particular types of strategies, how does that help inform or promote student success?
Sure. So the data that we do have is somewhat on a small scale right now in terms of how this works in community colleges, but I can say that we have seen in institutions that have piloted this work a 10 to 15% higher retention rate. In terms of completion, we don't necessarily have that data right now, but through this initiative are aiming to get that data. As I said, there are LISC and United Way sites that are using this strategy, and they have their own differing data on results they've seen in, if students receive services in a particular order or, if services are bundled in a particular way, what kind of results they've had. But we've seen varying varying data that kind of contradicts itself in LISC and United Way. But those are community-based organizations. So that's pretty much what I can share now, and I'm happy to email out the reports that we do have if there are institutions interested in reading through those.
Great, thank you. We have a few more questions. The first question is bundled into two. And so the first piece is from the question, philosophically, this program reminds me of Geoffrey Canada's Harlem project to holistically assist students through their families and work life. So did you make that connection is the first piece of that. And then the second piece is specific for you, Jeff. What kind of resources did you devote to this initiative? It sounds like this was a significant commitment.
I appreciate the reference to Geoffrey Canada's work. You know, to be honest, I think in our own campus, we had not seen that connection, although interestingly, we've been part of a number of conversations with our local school districts and local community development associations about that model. But so far, it's been really driven by K-12 when we've been part of those particular dialogues. And so I appreciate that question because it's causing me to rethink create kind of another lens for looking at the work. But I do see the similarity and appreciate having it pointed out to me in a way that I can use as a tool. In terms of the amount of resources that we've invested in this, you know, at this point, I would say there definitely have been investments. We've invested in professional development. We've invested in some infrastructure development at the campus. But at this early stage, we are largely using resources that we already had in place. We're with some small contribution in addition to the grant funds in order to kind of make fill in the gaps, right? To create some staff support to fill in the gaps where we don't have services. Our biggest investment right now of funds for Highline is in a person who will go out to our community partners, these other folks who are going to provide some of these services, and to develop operating agreements with them and protocols with them about how that's actually going to happen. So that's where we're investing money right now. Longer term, facilities will become an issue, and other longer term staff investments will become an issue. But we're at the stage now where we're really just trying to bring together and integrate what we already have in place here. Our target population for the initial phase of this is a group of students who are participating in what I call alternative financial aid programs at the college, where there already are some wraparound services. Those include our TANF, welfare to work, quote unquote, students under Washington system. It also includes unemployed workers who are eligible for certain kinds of training through Washington resources. And so we're starting with a population that already has some wraparound and trying to work with that population to see, okay, what wraparound is there, what wraparound isn't there, and how can we be more effective. So that's where we are in terms of investment now.
Thank you, Jeff. We don't have any further questions at this moment. If you have a burning question, feel free to type it in. I will take this next minute to thank Jeff and Elyssa for taking the time to explain the WFSN strategy. I will let participants know that these slides will be available along with a YouTube presentation on our YouTube channel, and we'll be sending those out in the ATD Network newsletter that goes out monthly, so you can feel free to look for those. And I think Jeff and Elyssa are both open to answering any questions beyond this webinar if you have them. So now I am pleased to tell you about the next webinar we have. It's Thursday, November 9th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are really excited to debut the Middle Skill State Policy Framework. This has been a collaboration with Achieving the Dream and Jobs for the Future and a number of community colleges in the Achieving the Dream network. And the goal of this framework is to help states advance the creation of middle skill STEM pathways and encourage students to enter and complete these pathways. And so we're very excited to have Dr. Belinda Miles of Cuyahoga Community College, as well as Achieving the Dream and Jobs for the Future representation.
Okay, great. So before we close, I would just like to ask our participants to please participate in the poll that you see on your screen right now. For those of you who are attending a Leader College webinar for the first time, we do this poll after every webinar so that we can get a better understanding of how our topic and our format affect your enjoyment of the series. So this is just where if you could please select all the statements with which you agree. This call was useful and informative. I enjoyed the webinar format. This webinar gave me new ideas that we could implement. There was enough time for questions and discussion, or this call did not meet my expectations. And so I'll just give everyone another minute to answer. And if you could please respond, it is very helpful for us in crafting our future webinars. Okay, last chance. We're about to close it up. Oh, that worked. Okay. Great. And it looks like overall this is a very enjoyable webinar for you all. So thank you so much for letting us know. If you feel like this call did not meet your expectations, we encourage you to please email us and let us know if there's a certain topic you'd like to see or if the format doesn't work for you, because we definitely want everyone to get the most out of these webinars.
So thank you once again to Jeff and Elyssa for sharing more information on the Working Family Success Network Community College expansion. And we look forward to having both new and recertification college on the next webinar, which again is Thursday, November 9th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you and have a great day.